Dr Kiri Dell of Ngāti Porou is one of Aotearoa's top Māori business academics and a senior lecturer at University of Auckland's Business School. She has also started a business called kānuka, which is commercialising flavour extracts from the native kānuka tree to use in products such as liquid smoke. Kiri joins me now to talk about her business and the intersection of academia and entrepreneurship. Kia ora, Kiri.
Kia ora.
So tell me about that intersection of academia and entrepreneurship, and perhaps we could start with your journey in entrepreneurship and sort of how your business sense came along the years.
Well, okay, so I have always been kind of entrepreneurial. It's always been a bit of a side hustle. I've always can see opportunities, and I think that stems from me having a lot of empathy for people and their needs. So that tends to be where my ideas come from. And I love being Māori and in the Māori space. So my ideas tend to centre or focus around Māori communities or Māori people. So that's kind of where my base foundation comes from. The intersection between academia and entrepreneurship is quite an important one. Especially universities have a massive research and innovation capability. And when you're working with Māori communities, a lot of these Māori communities are not exposed to that level of research, that level of innovation. So bridging those two together does provide massive opportunities for both the institution and Māori landowners. Māori themselves come with huge amounts of capability and resources and mātauranga and knowledge, and the marriage between the two can be quite beautiful. So that's what we've managed to do with kānuka, is bring that innovation, research capacity to Māori land to create innovative and novel products.
Okay, excellent. So, I mean, it's a good case study. Perhaps you could talk about kānuka in those terms. How have you managed to sort of, I suppose, bring those two worlds together?
Part of it sits with me because I am deeply involved in both communities. I'm deeply involved in the university, and so I get to see how you can access research, how I can see the needs or the demands and the outputs that universities require, and how that can match and marry with the needs and demands of Māori communities. And so I'm deeply embedded in my Māori community. I live in Ruatōria now. I convinced the university to let me work remotely. And so it's me crossing over a lot between the two and presenting each perspective to the other.
I mean, they're speaking different languages. I mean, literally.
It's true.
But also in the bureaucracy of it, right?
So I think with the university is trying to drive research outputs, publications, good quality teaching. These are the things they're trying to accumulate and have impact in New Zealand and across the globe. And with our Māori communities, they want projects or activities that are going to strengthen their sense of community and belonging. They want projects that are going to incorporate the land into their lifestyle. And so, yeah, we've just been designing our project to marry both the needs. Yeah.
And so tell me a bit more about kānuka. What stage are you at in terms of commercialisation of the extract?
So very broadly, kānuka is about using Māori resources, land resources, to return value as much as possible back to landowners. And I say this point nearly every time I speak about it, returning value back to landowners as much as possible, because often ideas come to landowners from whoever, corporates, whatever, and they're presented in a way where Māori are not going to get the most value out of that commercial activity. So we have been consciously designing and thinking about value and ways this can be returned back to landowners. So that's our central purpose. So we observe what's on the land. We observe what Papatuanuku is trying to offer us. And a lot of our land on the east coast, in Tairāwhiti, in Ngāti Porou, has a lot of kānuka. And so it makes sense to discover and find innovative products off a tree that is in massive abundance. The resource is already there. So we have developed a number of products that are ready to commercialise, and that's been done with a lot of R&D with the support of the university. I make special mention to my colleague Saeed, who's a chemical engineer from the Faculty of Engineering. He has been a key driver in creating these products. So we have been developing the products to a point where they can now be commercialised, and we have put the feelers out for investment to help design and build a pilot plant on the East Coast, and happy to say we have got some money in the pipeline there that someone's going to help support us with, and
Okay. Yeah. You might be able to say something about that a bit later on when it comes to fruition.
Yeah, talk a bit more about that in a couple of months.
Yeah, well, I'm interested in what you're saying about the value going back to landowners and the community. Is there a sort of a different model that you're looking at, rather than just perhaps paying certain landowners for the use of their land, or actually, as you say there, building the factory and having jobs created? Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, typically when we think about business, we very strongly think about the commercial return, and that is very important. It's very important that we make a commercial return, but there's other aspects of value as well. And with this project, there's value is also in bringing our families together to be employed and working together. It increases and enhances our relationship with the land, with these native rākau, these native trees. We now have a more intimate relationship with kānuka. We now know so much more about it, how it grows, when it grows, what its properties are, because you're constantly observing that rākau to understand it. So now our intimacy with that specific rākau has increased. There's a value in that. There is the value created by the exposure of our community to research and innovation. Now our younger ones coming up, they've been exposed to that. They're exposed to what science can do. So that's another form of value. So all these things are considered when we talk about returning value as much as possible back to the landowner.
Well, perhaps I can ask, I suppose, perhaps some things that you might see in today's business world or economy that you didn't see 5 years ago. Perhaps there's some progress being made in the direction that you would like to see.
There's more acceptance of trying to and wanting to do things differently, and you'll see lots of, I guess, let's say, new economic paradigms trying to be introduced into society. A lot of this is driven by, obviously, climate change, the excessive consumption that capitalism creates, because the system of capitalism is absolutely fantastic at producing stuff. It is a really good system to produce things, but it's like it's got no handbrake. It just goes and goes and goes. So we pretty much, most people understand that that excessiveness needs to be pulled back. So new economic paradigms are being offered and trying to be explored. Actualising them, integrating them is another story, and seems to be a lot harder to get into practice and actions. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all the time we've got today. Thank you very much for joining me, Kiri.
Thank you.